Hey, everybody. Hope that you are doing well this weekend. Thank you for joining us here on the postgame show. Oklahoma City evens up the NBA Finals at a game apiece, 123 to 107. Napes, Ryno, and Sacktown. There was not one thing that occurred in this game tonight that surprised me. Nothing. This game went exactly as I thought. Nothing surprised me.
That would include Aaron Wiggins because he dropped 41 on the Kings, Napes.
Yeah, we've seen Wiggins go off before, right?
Yeah.
I expected Oklahoma City to win this game rather easily. I predicted that. I thought that the real Thunder would show up. I thought the A version of the Thunder would show up. Again, there's nothing that surprised me in this game tonight. Not one thing.
Yeah, but nonetheless, Indy did their job. So if you're going back to Indy, how are you
Yeah.
feeling about this one? You feeling the same?
Yeah, because one game has nothing to do with another in the playoffs. They doesn't mean anything. Now, again, if you're going to look at these two games and you're going to split if you're going to go the 48 minutes plus the 48 minutes, all right. So if you're going to look at a 96-minute period of action and you didn't know anything about the two teams record-wise, you would come away saying, oh, Oklahoma City's the better team. They've looked like the better team, and they really, for the majority of the play, they have been the better team. But you could say that about a couple of these previous series that the Pacers have played in because of their comebacks. But it is 1-1. Oklahoma City's not going to have any issues winning a game on the road, meaning like the environment in Indianapolis is not going to affect the Thunder. It's not going to like throw them off kilter. Could they have a bad game? Yeah, they could have a bad game. They had a horrible game in game 3 on the road in Minnesota, if you remember, when they were down by 40 plus points, right? So, I mean, it's part of the playoffs.
Well, for as good as their net rating is at home during the playoffs in the regular season, they're negative 6+ on the road in the net rating column. So I expect an attack, but are you seeing some trends here in the first couple games? If we're going to look at them in their totality, what's sticking out to you so far?
From Oklahoma City's perspective?
Either team.
What sticks out to me is that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is one of the most incredible players in the league. And even though he's the MVP that was voted upon by, the media and et cetera, I still think he's underappreciated. I really do. I think he's still underappreciated. That stuck out. And number 2, I'm so tired of listening to Richard Jefferson and Doris Burke already that I wish I could mute the TV. I really do. That stood out to me too. It's so disappointing to have Doris Burke and Richard Jefferson on this platform when I'm used to Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy, or even what they had last year, or after listening to Stan Van Gundy and Reggie Miller. It's just such a downgrade. It really is.
Yeah, Richard Jefferson is using Mike Breen as a doormat, and he's making all these jokes at all the wrong times, Napes. Very similar to the Olympics this last year when we listened to Noah Eagle, and who was the color on that? It was
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade. Exactly right.
Yep.
Nailed
it. It's unbelievable. I mean, it really is. It's incredible. So you were talking about Oklahoma City this year with their net rating, right?
Yeah.
And you know me, I'm not into analytics like you are. Okay. Here's the numbers that jump out at me at Oklahoma City. They were 32-8 on the road this year.
Mm-hmm.
In every series that they have played in, they've had no problem winning on the road when they've had to win on the road, meaning like after they dropped a game in Denver, they came back and won. After they got humiliated in Minnesota in game 3, they came back and won game 4 easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the numbers can say whatever they want. Here's what I do understand. The only numbers that matter to me is they won 68 games during the year. They were 32 wins on the road and only lost once to an Eastern Conference team. I would be shocked. Let me repeat, shocked, not surprised. I would be shocked if Oklahoma City loses both games 3 and 4. Matter of fact, I could see them winning both games 3 and 4 more than I could see them losing. I don't think there's any way in the world, barring an injury to SGA, I don't think there's any way in the world they're going to lose both these games.
You don't use that word too often, partner. Shocked.
What's that word?
Shocked. We don't get that from you too much.
I would be shocked.
Yeah.
If they lose both these games based on their body of work for the entire season and this postseason, I'd be shocked. I mean, again, I just pointed out the examples. One twice at Memphis, one when they had to in Minnesota in that game 4 after getting blown out in game 3, one in Denver when they had to.
Yeah, no, arguably the Denver game 4 was where they kind of put some hair on their chest when this team turned a little bit of their corner. I guess for me, through 2, we see that SGA, no answer whatsoever. And you're seeing the separation between, and although they're different players, SGA and Halliburton, the Pacers are throwing everything at the book at SGA, and he's still making all the space in the world to create for himself. Tyrese Halliburton has not been able to do that through 2 games.
I thought Indiana would have to win a minimum of 2 games in Oklahoma City to win this series. They've already won 1. Now they're going to have to figure out a way to win another with only 2 more opportunities to do so, assuming that the series goes that far, because Oklahoma City will win a game on the road. They're just too good. They will win a game on the road.
Yeah, but I think if they will win a game on the road. If they're going to win 2 games on the road, they're going to need to get the production from the deep bench like they got tonight. That or your starters, Holmgren, has to be better. You have to get more from him. Hartenstein has to be better. Remember, Caruso, he's had a great couple of games. A couple of those guys off the bench for the Thunder have been huge. So that's, to me, where there's that little gray area. The starters need to be better.
I think Oklahoma City only needs to win 1 game in Indianapolis in order for the Pacers. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. In order for the Pacers to win this series, they're going to have to win 1 more game in Oklahoma City.
No, you said it right. You were just saying you expect them to win 1 Oklahoma City in Indy.
Yes.
But I was just saying, if they're going to win both of those here in Indy, you're going to have to get that same bench production, 49 points, to the Pacers 34.
And if they do win both in Indianapolis, I think we all know the series is over.
Yes.
No, it just is. Again, if you're going to look at this series objectively, which I'm hoping that most of us are doing, Oklahoma City's the better team. They're just a better team. They're just better, period.
Yeah, and in many ways, there's not really a ceiling that we can put on some of those guys on their bench. I look at Indy's bench, both teams very deep, but Aaron Wiggins is a perfect example. A name you didn't mention in game 1. He comes out tonight and has a wonderful game. You don't know what that upside is going to be on any given night for them.
Nope. No, you don't. The good question or good response there. All right. If you want to call the show, we would love to have you on. We want to hear from you here on this Sunday evening with the NBA Finals now a best of 5 tied at 1 game apiece.
Let's kick it off with Toby. You're on the air with Grant and Ryno.
Hi, guys. I'm from Corvallis, Oregon. First time calling in. Appreciate what you guys are talking about. And I think my first question is just from a schematic standpoint, do you think the Thunder revealed anything that or the Thunder took advantage of anything specific on the Pacers tonight? I mean, it seemed like the Pacers were pretty stagnant offensively when they got on the half court, but did you guys see anything specific?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for joining us and watching our channel. We appreciate it from beautiful Corvallis, Oregon. I thought the one thing that was very, very apparent in the game plan, and first of all, we have to acknowledge that Oklahoma City is a very good defensive team. They weren't allowing the Pacers to shoot from beyond the arc. They were closing out on almost every single possession, and their rotations tonight, I thought defensively were flawless. Their defensive attention to detail, I thought was flawless in this game.
It's a great point because their switches are flawless too. So when those two things come together, good luck. I think the biggest thing for me is Indy is not able to get downhill in the half court.
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton can't get any separation. TJ McConnell's getting a little bit more. Rick Carlisle's played them a tiny bit together, and I've liked that. But you're going to have to find a way to get Tyrese to his spots, because until the second half, if he's shooting, it was typically a bad shot on the run. Conversely, Toby and Grant, I think that the Pacers are late on the double with SGA. They're very, very late, and it's inconsistent, unlike what we saw last year with Boston and Lucas. So you've got to clean that up if you're the Pacers.
What about you, Toby?
Yeah, I mean,
Do you think Tyrese Haliburton is big as boogers, and that's why he wasn't doing anything? He's probably thinking about the players and the refs. He was probably.
What just happened?
I have no idea.
We had such a good call going.
Was his phone hijacked, or was that Toby?
I don't know. I think.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
That was
that?
That was not me. That was just a friend trolling.
Oh,
so.
Okay. Well, that's good because your high, our high opinion of you dropped quite a bit there for 10 seconds. I'm glad that wasn't you. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. I think my thoughts are, gosh, I'm distracted by my friend. Sorry.
You're good.
No problem. Hey, Toby, we understand. Call again, all right? And tell your friend next time to shut up, okay?
Hey, I heard the boogers on the.
Here's his friend in the background. He's screaming in the background.
Alcohol does some very strange things to people. All right. Well, Toby, you asked a good question, though, and I agree with what Ryno had to say. I just think the switching, the attention to detail, and you're right about, there's no dribble penetration tonight from Indiana to break down the Oklahoma City defense. That happened infrequently.
Well, yeah, Grant, they had 27 made field goals or 37 made field goals, 27 were assisted. So you don't have anybody that's creating for themselves, a problem that Sacramento we saw so often happen this season.
So I guess the question now is, do we still think this series is going 6 or 7 games? Do I think Indiana is playing too well to lose 4 games in a row? Yes, I do. So to me, it's going at least 6. I don't think Indiana is just all of a sudden going to lose 100% of their mojo because they were thoroughly outplayed tonight. They've been thoroughly outplayed in these playoffs, and they always find a way to bounce back. Did
this feel a little bit different, though, tonight? Because I didn't feel like they had much of a chance once we got into the late second quarter. I didn't think they were going to have it. I mean, it's crazy. I didn't think they were going to have a chance before the game started based on my eyes and what I've seen from Oklahoma City this year. Yeah. I mean, again, I keep on going back to this. Oklahoma City's a better team, and they have the best player on the floor. Out of all the players that are playing, SGA is the best player on the floor. And through 2 games, the Pacers have not been able to stop him. No, they have not. They're going to have to. I'm surprised they haven't gone to a little bit of a zone or trying to do something different to break it up. But I'm with you about it going 6. I don't have a ton of confidence if it goes 7. And they've got to play in that environment, Indy, if they're able to push it there. But you've got to change up what you've got going and get something new going as they head back. What do you want to know if Spud Webb was a superstar player? No, he wasn't a superstar player. He was a superstar person, but he was a good player. And competitive as all heck. I've very rarely been around anyone. I would say that Danny Ainge and Spud Webb are probably the 2 most competitive players I've ever been around. Do you think the refs were bad tonight? No, I didn't think the refs were bad at all. I thought the refs actually called a very good game. I think Zach Zarba, the crew chief, is one of the very best officials in the NBA. So, no, I didn't think the officials called a bad game. Most of the replays on the questionable calls look like they got them right. And here's the other aspect. When you're down by 20 plus most of the game, the officials have nothing to do with it. Yep. Jesus, I don't think it's confusing the Pacers. And this sounds crazy because you're coming from a series against the Knicks. I think the physicality is catching the Pacers a little bit off guard. You, Grant? Yes, I do. I do think it catches them a little bit off guard. Well, OKC's defense has confused every team in the league. That's why they got 68 wins. Their defense is really good. They play defense. Their defense is solid. I mean, going in that they're going to defend you. Yeah, but it's not so much a confusion thing. It's not like they're running a crazy scheme. They are just so interchangeable, and they are on the exact same page. A complete 180 from what you see night in, night out when you watch the Kings play, who play very poor defense through long stretches of games, and it's why they didn't make the playoffs this year. Seriously, If you really want to compare what you watch from a Kings team and an Oklahoma City team defensively,
it just shows you the Kings are light years away from getting to this level.
Well, and it's something that I talk about and you're right. It's something I talk about all the time on my show, having players that can switch and guard multiple positions.
Yep.
That's where it starts. And
Yep.
OKC has 5, 6, 7
Yep.
of those guys. And
It's
so
a great point.
your Keon Ellis's, your Keegan Murray's, if he comes back, Jake LaRavia's. That's why there's some value in those guys, because they can play multiple positions. Devin Carter, we'll see.
Yeah, we don't know about Devin Carter yet. And, the other part about Devin Carter is it's great if you can do that defensively, but you got to be able to play both sides of the floor. If you're a great offensive player, you do have to play some defense. And conversely, if you're a great defensive player, you need to learn how to play some offense. You just can't be a one-way player and be that guy in this league. I mean, you really do need to be able to do at least some of both. And I'm still concerned about Carter's shot and the way it looks. And you want to talk about an important offseason, which has already started for him.
Mm-hmm.
This summer and this training camp that's going to be coming up in October is huge for Carter.
Yeah, he's got to soak up every second of it. He's got to do what he did in that week and a half, 2 weeks in Stockton. You're right about being able to do both sides. Thought the offense looked better when he came back at the end of the season. Defense, to me, was a little bit off. It's like finding that perfect balance, Grant. I don't think you're asking the world. You're just asking, can you make a play here and there? Can you knock down a three and stay aggressive and pick up entire
Well,
court?
he was a rookie, and he was coming in handcuffed because he didn't have a summer or a training camp, and he came in on the fly. So, we'll judge him much, much more, I think, appropriately in this second year than the first year, because we did see signs where we're like, wow, this guy could be pretty good. But for him right now, it's just putting it all together and finding consistency.
Yeah, and he came back considerably earlier than what the expectation was. He was going to be reevaluated in January, and he was back.
That's correct. So, again, I wouldn't get too out of whack over Devin Carter just yet. Hey, folks, buying a home, selling a home, get in touch with Connor at Element Mortgage. You can hit that QR code or give him a call at 916-505-1006. He has closed hundreds of loans himself. The team behind him with over 100 years of experience at Element Mortgage. That's Connor, real estate agent. Yeah, give Connor a call, 916-505-1006. That's Element Mortgage and Connor. It's all over in Oklahoma City, and the series is going back tied at 1 game apiece.
So Don Nelson was honored by the Coaches Association
About time.
Before the game, Lifetime Achievement Award. He had a little presser with both head coaches, and this is what he said.
And Luca, too, my dear friend. As a matter of fact, I want everybody to know I'm wearing Luca's shoes, his new shoes from Nike. He just got on the market, and I'm wearing them in protest for the trade from Dallas. I think it was a tremendous mistake by the Dallas franchise to trade him, and I want everybody to.
I've got to think you've got some really good Nelly stories.
Most of my great Nelly stories are from Gary St. Jean, who was very, very close with Nelly and an assistant with Nelly for a long time. Nelly loves life. Nelly was very well respected by most players, unless you're Chris Webber. And he not only was a great player, he was a very successful coach who couldn't quite go all the way with a championship when people thought that he had a championship type of a ball club in Dallas. But I love Nelly. And when I was around Nelly, I always enjoyed it.
Yeah, just a legend of the game. So cool to see him back. I believe he's they mentioned on the broadcast, Hawaii now.
Yeah, he lives in Hawaii. He's always lived in Hawaii, and he's had a place on the Big Island for decades. How about that comment, though, about ripping the Mavericks?
It makes all the sense in the world. I mean, if you're going to speak up and you've got his back, have his back. You don't speak up that often anymore.
By the way, Nelly was the one that made the trade to acquire Dirk Nowitzki,
Uh,
and he got destroyed for it at first when he made that deal. And Dirk Nowitzki changed the entire franchise around. Nelly was the one that made that deal.
how about that? Brought them a championship. Just wasn't coaching it. Wow.
Yep.
Incredible. Charles, thanks for taking the time. You're on.
Hey, how's it going, Ryan?
What's up?
Did you ever pay your debt to NBA guru Zach for March Madness and the Doug Christie being coach?
I have not seen NBA guru Zach in a minute. So
Ryan always pays his debts.
Yeah, I paid my debt last season, and I think he walked that one back, Charles.
Oh, I think you're a lying faggot. That's bullshit.
What's wrong with people? Seriously. Unbelievable.
Wow.
I want to get back to Nelly for a moment. So, he made a trade at the time. I'll never forget it. Because Dirk was a lot like Peja. People didn't know who he was.
Mm-hmm. Different time in European basketball. I think you have to set that context.
Yes. And people didn't even know who he was. Just like, if you remember, not only did Jeff Petrie mispronounce Peja Stojakovic's name when he announced to the crowd that had showed up at Arco Arena for a draft party, and he mispronounced the name, okay? The Kings fans booed Jeff Petrie. They booed him.
With Peja?
Yes. I was there. They booed him. And it was like, whoa. They all wanted John Wallace because he had been this star in the NCAA tournament for Syracuse.
Yeah.
And when Jeff announced Peja Stojakovic, they booed him. They booed him. Seriously.
Insane. Well, it was a little bit, you weren't quite at that point, right? You were still kind of building. Petrie wasn't Petrie at the end of his tenure. So understandable.
But I mean, think about that for a minute, okay? They booed him. They booed Jeff Petrie. Booed him. Right?
Understood. But it was different. Fans did not have the faith in European players. You didn't have social media. You didn't have extended coverage and 4,000 channels on DirecTV to be keeping up with all the different leagues. So you hear that name instead of the names, like you said, guy that played well in the tournament. Yeah. I mean, fans they fall in love with somebody every single year.
It happens all the time, right?
Yes.
Happens all the time. And it will continue to happen. And here's what I've always said, and this is not being disrespectful to the fans. It's the same thing in the NFL draft. Most of the fans that watch the NFL draft don't know a damn thing about any of the players being drafted after the first 15 picks, But I mean, think about this. Now, just if you want to talk about like trades that turn around a franchise, Monte Ellis being traded to the Milwaukee Bucks turned around the entire Warriors franchise. It turned the franchise in a 180-degree, right?
Agreed. 100%.
Right. When you think about, I believe you remember the name Robert Tractor Trailer. That's who the Mavericks traded. And I think there was another player, Pat Garrity, I think.
Big man from Michigan.
Traded for Dirk Nowitzki, okay, after the draft. Think about that. And Nelly saw the greatness in him and said, let's go. And Nelly also, if you remember when the Warriors drafted Chris Webber, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nelly was 100% on board with that. They made it happen. And then Chris walked in there with a great sense of entitlement and basically forced his way out of Oakland because he didn't want to listen to Don Nelson.
Yeah. That's why you get sent to Washington when you're doing stuff like that. Jeff says Peja was not available for 2 years.
No, he was available.
Just didn't come.
That's correct. And the Kings wanted him to stay there. The Kings were fine with that. The Kings actually wanted him to continue to develop. And as the Kings and Jeff Petrie turned out to be 100% correct.
Probably one of the greatest decisions not to tweak or mess with a guy's jump shot, because everything, when I say everything mechanically, is wrong about Page's shot, but like Scotty Scheffler, Grant, if it works, it works.
Yeah, Jim Furyk, when he was playing so well. Lee Trevino, no one would ever teach. All right. And there's not a golf professional in the world that would teach someone to hit the ball the way Lee Trevino hit it. But
Yeah.
again, if it works, keep going. And it would be the same for Devin Carter. If his shot was going in, we wouldn't care what it looked like.
To a degree. I kind of, Halliburton, when he came into Sacramento, he had the high arcing shot, right? And I didn't focus as much there as I did the release. He sped up his release. Devin Carter's release, if you want to keep the arc on it, I think you got to look at that release because he's not that guy that's going to make a lot of room or separate on his own.
And those are all important aspects in terms of shooting the ball. I always look at free throw shooting too. And we look at all of the different mechanics, even at the free throw line, which I've always been like, wow, why,
Yeah, people shooting them one-handed this
Yep.
year in the league.
I know.
It's all about routine when you go to the free
Yep.
throw line.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is.
But you have a better chance. I mean, I think we would all agree there are mechanics to a perfect shot. There is such a thing as a perfect shot. You would think that if you improved your mechanics along with your routine at the free throw line, you would have a higher percentage.
Did you ever flat out ask a player that was an excellent shooter but a bad free throw shooter what the misconnect is, the disconnect?
No, because that's a great question. There weren't a lot of instances where someone was a great shooter and a poor free throw shooter. I'll tell you a guy that we could have asked that question to who is an excellent mid-range shooter, correct?
Yeah.
But struggled for most of his career in Sacramento at the line was De'Aaron Fox.
That is true.
Think about Fox from 15 feet, pull-up jumper, and look at him from the line for most of his career in Sacramento.
It's a great point. High 70s at its best.
But it was in the low 70s for many years, right?
Yep.
Think about that.
Well, he wasn't getting to the line at the same frequency as
Correct.
he did towards that the beam team year. Let's put it that way, because then it tailed off again.
Well, it's very interesting to look at players and from the free throw line and why are they this? Why are they that? Hey, New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. They're available 24/7. Go to their website, give them a call. Also, newworksplumbing.com, NEWWRXplumbing.com. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. If you need plumbing repairs, they'll be there for you. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you.
I think one thing that we forget, if you're not 7 feet tall and have a 7'5" wingspan, is the basketball for normal people my size is a basketball. For the bigger guys, it's like us with a mini basketball or
It's much more difficult.
maybe a soccer ball or a women's ball, which changes the entire dynamic.
Which is why it's been so puzzling to me why big men would not even attempt to shoot the ball the way Rick Barry did from the free throw line, underhand. Especially if you have big hands, shooting the ball that way would negate the size of the basketball. And I've talked to Scott Pollard about this. Shaq was, and other big men would struggle from the line, but would never attempt to shoot it underhand. And the question is, why not? Who cares? If it goes in, it goes in. Who cares whether you're going overhand or underhand?
Well, and it's a very good point. The other thing to that, if you're shooting underhand, your touch in basketball, especially at that level, is so important where the ball just barely hits the net and hits
Correct.
nothing else. You get a better touch because many times the big men are shooting directly at the rim or with very little.
They're like darts.
Yes, exactly right. So look at Tyrese's touch at Madison Square Garden, game 1.
Yes. Yep.
The Eastern Conference Finals.
Anyway, it's just interesting that because they're going to be made fun of, or if the ball goes in the basket, who cares, right?
Well,
Nobody made fun of Rick Barry.
Different time, but I would think it would go viral. And players these days would eat that up. Their marketing teams eat it up. You'd almost have to ask Rick Barry for permission to use that shot.
Well, again, the name of the game is to score points, correct?
It is.
As Jerry always says, that's why they have a scoreboard hanging over the floor.
You got to have more than the other team. Let's see. How do you feel about the physicality with the refs. He's talking about, Mike, the refs stopped calling fouls after the All-Star break last year, and it hurt the Kings badly. It didn't hurt them the second half of the season last year. It helped them, or 2 years ago. This season, hard to say.
Players talk too much about the officiating in all sports, and they use that to camouflage what the real problem is. The real problem with the Kings has nothing to do with how the officials are calling a game. And if you think so, then you're just trying to make yourself feel better with an excuse to make the losing more tolerable.
Speaking of that, hasn't it been a refreshing watch to see these guys not arguing with the refs every single possession?
Well, there's a reason for that. Luka is no longer playing in the playoffs. He's the biggest whiner in the league. LeBron's no longer playing in the playoffs. He complains a lot. And Draymond Green also no longer in the playoffs. And as soon as Luka and Draymond were eliminated from the playoffs, you didn't see all of the nonsense going on.
And it's a higher level of physicality. Look at guys, you're not using an arm bar right now to get open. You're shoving. Go pick any play from tonight. They're shoving.
And listen, as long as the game's called the same in the fourth quarter as it is in the first quarter, as long as it's consistent, the players don't have a problem with that. It's if the game is called inconsistently, that's the problem they have. And the reality is that if you called all of the contact that we're seeing right now in these games, every player would foul out.
Amen. Spot freaking on. Grant, thoughts on Naz Reid entering free agency?
Listen, he's a guy that I think every team in the league would love to have. Who would not want to have Naz Reid?
I thought he made that team better when Cat was out for the latter part of last season with them. I think he's going to command a decent number. His last contract did, and he's going to have plenty of suitors' names.
Yep. And again, I have to look at their salary cap and what apron they're on and their future. But he's a player that, as you said, is going to have some interest. There's no doubt about that.
It's going to be really interesting with Oklahoma City. For instance, Nikola Topic, lottery pick point guard from overseas. He sat out this year for Oklahoma City. So they have decisions to make. But I wonder, and I'll ask you, do you think teams are going to look at an Aaron Wiggins? They're going to look at some of those other guys on the bench at OKC and say, well, they're a product of everything else going on, so they're getting better looks, or are these guys that good and developed?
A little bit of both. The other thing is, if Oklahoma City wins the championship, they've got extra money in their pocket. Another meaning like that takes a lot of pressure off what they've already built because they've already won a championship. And when you look at the collateral that they have, right? When you look at their assets for not only right now, but the future with draft picks, and the fact that they are so well run, arguably the best run team in the NBA, that it's hard to imagine them, barring injuries, not being a dynasty. I hate to say that, but they're the next Golden State Warriors. I don't see how it can't happen unless they get big-headed or they have injuries. That's how well set up they are, Ryno.
Yeah, they are. And if there's a reason to go into the luxury tax, this would be the reason. You got a shot, as you said, at a dynasty, possibly. I think Chet Holmgren, to me, is going to be the interesting one there. What they're going to do with him, because his production doesn't scream a ton of money. Right now, he's making 13 or 10 this year. Next year, he's making 13. And then the year after, it's an option, 17-9. That's going to be the big contract to me, because that double big lineup is what's helped them here in the finals and throughout the season.
There's no question. But as long as you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren, I'll just leave it at those two right now, because Holmgren's not anywhere even near his prime.
Agreed.
Okay.
100%.
Like he's that. As long as those two are part of your nucleus and you build around them, and I'm not disrespecting Williams or anyone else on that team or Dort, or you're going to be one of the best teams in the league.
Okay, so there's the question: if you had to take two of the three, are you going Holmgren, Alexander, or are you going Alexander and Williams?
I'm going Holmgren's part of my future going forward.
Okay. No
Because I
concerns
look at
about
his upside, I look at his age, and I look at everything else. Like, what about you?
I think you have to, because you're staring the Spurs. Most likely, if we're kind of betting on who's going to be developing and getting better, you're going to be staring them straight in the eye. And I think that's one of your better options to deal with Wemby.
Yeah.
Very well could be those two teams.
I want to get to this message. Kings are bringing in prospects for draft workouts. Wonder if they want to keep the second round pick. Let me give you a little more information on that. Teams bring in players, even if they know they're not going to draft them, for two reasons. Trades happen, and sometimes you end up having a pick that you weren't expecting to have. That's number one. And number two, you might make a trade a year from now or 2 years from now, and you have more information on that individual. So you always bring players in, even if they're not going to be drafted by you. You're always trying to accumulate information, get to know someone on a personal level, see how their work ethic is, all of that. So don't really read too much into that.
Yeah, I'm not looking so much at what they do with 42. I'm looking at what they do with the unsigned free agents or the undrafted free agents, because if they're going to get lucky, and I'm talking needle in the haystack lucky, you've got to get them in and give them a full summer, which would not start with the California Classic, Grant, since the Kings are not playing in it. It would be Vegas, because that's where they got lucky with Keon Ellis. That's where they got lucky with Isaac Jones, because the likelihood of 42, Grant, that's tough.
Last week, I told everyone that I would get the real story of what happened to Tom Thibodeau, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a lengthy phone call this evening with somebody that is a ironclad 100% source, ironclad, not 99.9, ironclad. Leon Rose, the president of the Knicks, had nothing to do with Tom Thibodeau being fired. He wanted to keep Tom Thibodeau. He's been aligned with Tom Thibodeau for years. He gave Tom Thibodeau the 3-year, $30 million extension or whatever it was last year. Okay. It was James Dolan and the other front office executive, Wesley, who's called Wes, that wanted Tom Thibodeau gone. James Dolan never wanted Tom Thibodeau as coach, was resistant to it, and was never in Tom Thibodeau's corner. And so the Knicks were looking for an excuse to move on from Tom Thibodeau against the wishes of Leon Rose.
Interesting. Any word on if they thought they had a vine to possibly grab onto before they let go of the Tibbs one?
I didn't even get into that. It was all about Tibbs and the messed up. You know, if you think things are bad in Sacramento with Vivek, I mean, you have just an idiot owner in James Dolan in New York.
But at least he took a step back. He did what was right for the team. He didn't like Tibbs, didn't want to bring him in, brought him in.
True.
You know?
But I mean, if Jason Kidd ends up in New York or whomever else, I'll tell you this, if they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals next year, they're going to be destroyed. I'm just telling you, I know how it works in New York. They will be destroyed.
They're going to be fired. Grant, they're going to be fired. With this CBA, owners will pay the extra money to the coaches because it doesn't go against the luxury tax. If you have a team, you're going into those aprons, which can have consequences well beyond the next couple years. You got to do it now. That's why.
Go ahead.
That's why Shams is expecting this to be the craziest offseason that he has ever seen. And I agree with him.
Said Tibbs is a great coach, but he doesn't use his bench. Well, they traded away most of their bench. That's number one. You know, you talk about this all the time, but we've never really got into it because it's not really an appealing conversation. So I don't want to go on too long with it. Mm-hmm. Are you a fan of the aprons and the new CBA and how they do everything now with the restrictions and salaries?
Yes, I am a fan of it. I think it brings it more back to real money versus monopoly money, Grant. You remember when you would hear about a eighth guy on the bench getting contracts for 3 years, $60 million? You're not seeing it now. And so you're seeing teams make more prudent decisions, but you're also seeing guys switch around more often, making bolder trades. So my only problem is that this whole thing is a year ahead with the NBA finals. You have two small market teams, probably 2-3 years ahead. And I'd like to see the NBA embracing it more, because that's the whole idea of what they're doing for the next 6 years after this season.
Speaking of salaries, it says Fox is looking for a max contract of $228 million over 4 years. So we're talking about $51 million. Will Fox be making more or less than Levine in 2027? Well, San Antonio also is in a very good position right now in terms of what direction they want to go in. They obviously are thinking that Fox is part of the future and isn't going to be going anywhere, but they have 2 lottery picks. They're in a good situation to add to what they already have. I don't think Fox is a max player. I've always said that, but be interesting to see what happens there.
See, I'm a little bit on the other side of the fence there. De'Aaron's not going to want to go into this season without a contract. This is the last year on his deal. And
Understand.
Let's say 2 scenarios. First scenario, you bring in Giannis. I think De'Aaron is the odd guy out unless he's going to come in at a much lower number. Agree? Disagree?
Yes, I would agree that he would be part of that. Correct.
Okay. He would be part of it, or he would be gone from San Antonio?
I think he would be gone.
Yeah. Okay. You've got 2 picks in the lottery. If you're San Antonio this year, you don't go get Giannis. Castle develops another year. You bring in a couple more young guys. Why are you going to sign your name? Grant, you said speed is De'Aaron Fox's greatest attribute.
Yep.
That's going to decrease the older he gets.
Yep.
Even a healthy Fox, I just don't see him getting anywhere near what was on the table in Sacramento.
No. And the other issue is the Spurs are not ready to win a championship. So they still have time, if they want to go in a different direction with that position, to go out and find and get what they need, or develop a draft pick or whatever. They have the time. They're not championship ready. To me, they're kind of like where Oklahoma City was 3 years ago.
Fair. And to be honest, I think this was a tryout, because they don't have a ton of skin on the game, or in the game with De'Aaron. Grant. They were served him on a silver platter. They gave up some second-round picks. That's
correct. And they don't, I mean, again, in all fairness, Fox had his finger surgically repaired in March. So how much was that affecting him? How much? But I look at the career numbers. When his finger's very healthy, he still didn't shoot the ball well from 3 enough for me. The Spurs are in a very interesting situation because they have their franchise piece. They've got him. His name's Victor Wembanyama. He's the reason why they're either going to win a championship or not.
No doubt about it. And I think that is, for me, there's 3 or 4 things I'm watching this summer. I'm watching how that plays out. Not because I'm thinking I want something bad to happen to Fox. I'm thinking you've got 2 different sides of the camp. Him, Rich Paul, they're going to want guaranteed money this year, especially Grant, coming off of an injury. And I don't think the Spurs are ready to do it. Why would you?
Lucky says Fox is a superstar. Lucky, let me give you a little education on what a superstar is and how you get there. You can't win 2 games in a row, Lucky, until you win 1 game. You can't win 3 games in a row until you win 2 in a row. You can't be a superstar until you're an all-star. And he's never been an all-star, with the lone exception of being added on to the team. So he wasn't even an all-star that year. He was added on when Steph Curry got injured. So you can't be a superstar, Lucky, if you're not an all-star. You understand? Thank you. End of conversation.
Who else are you looking at in the West that's going to sneak up on you? I think we
Portland.
Bingo. That's where I wanted to go. It's got to be Portland.
Yep.
And
Portland.
And the Stockton Kings lost their head coach, Quentin Crawford, to Portland. He's going to go be an assistant with Chauncey Billups. But they're a team that have done the rebuild right. They were patient with Dame. They targeted the guys they want. They've developed guys. They've stuck with their coach. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but they're next to make that jump as well.
Lucky says that Fox will be an MVP next year. Well, if he's an MVP, then he'll elevate himself from a non-all-star to an all-star to a superstar. So that's good. That's good, Lucky. Go to the nearest betting window and see what the odds are for that. You could make a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, your name's Lucky.
Yeah.
You almost have to do it.
Correct. Yep.
Lucky, there's the difference.
I think Dallas, I don't know Kyrie Irving's situation, but most people, and again, they could be wrong, believe that Cooper Flagg is going to be a very special player.
Mm-hmm.
They have some other nice pieces, even without Kyrie Irving, as the Kings found out in the playoffs. Okay?
Play in.
Excuse me. Play in. Now, here's the question. If Jason Kidd leaves to go to the Knicks, who's going to be the next coach there? Is it going to be Michael Malone? Is it going to be Tom Thibodeau? Who's going to be the next coach in Dallas if Jason Kidd departs?
That's not a job that I think is highly desirable.
Oh, I disagree with you. Now that you have Cooper Flagg coming in, I think it's highly desirable.
See, I think that the expectations that are going to be on you, especially after trading Luka to squeeze every last drop of talent out of a group and a rookie, in the short tolerance for coaches right now, I don't know
I
that you
disagree
want to
with
walk
you.
into that.
I think that's an extremely high-profile job in a great market. And I think that many coaches would be licking their chops to go coach the Mavs with Cooper Flagg now and their roster. They're not going to have anything to do with the Luka situation. It's not going to be, it don't matter to them. I think that is a highly desirable job.
Okay.
Lucky, I'm not negative. You just can't handle the truth. And Lucky, my name is spelled Napear. All right. So thank you that you think I'm very negative. You are someone that is delusional, but I disagree with you. I think if Jason Kidd leaves to go to New York, I think you'll see the top names in the NBA trying to get in to coach the Mavericks.
I hope it would be a personality like a Jeff Van Gundy. Those fans are jaded, and I know it doesn't matter. Winning is what makes fans happy, but I think it does make a little bit of a difference in this situation. Coming off of a Tom Thibodeau, he's going to do it his way. Not always smiling. It's not always white fields and rabbits jumping. Same thing to a degree with Michael Malone. I love Michael Malone. Great coach, but going to tell you how it is.
Well, I think if Jason Kidd leaves and Michael Malone was offered that job, I think he would take it in 30 seconds.
Okay. Taylor Jenkins, throw that name in the hat.
There's another name. Correct. There's a lot of good coaches right now that are unemployed.
Yeah.
That could, fill that void if Kidd leaves. And there's a lot of people that think Kidd's going to leave for New York.
And not that the Kings would have landed any of them, but just makes it more frustrating with Scott Perry's quote-unquote search for a head coach with as much talent as there is right now in the NBA.
All right. Again, if you want to call the show, do so. I think we need to stop comparing someone that's never stepped onto an NBA floor to Larry Bird, okay? Larry Bird type player. Let's wait. All right? Let's wait. Let's at least wait. So I like Dallas's future. So you ask me who else. Houston's not going anywhere. San Antonio's ascending. Portland's ascending. Here are the teams in the West that I think are in flux right now. The Warriors, the Lakers, and the Clippers. I don't have a good read on those three teams. Mm-hmm. And maybe Memphis, depending on what they decide to do with Mr. Headcase John Morant.
What about the Pels?
The Pels, to me, are always going to be in that situation because they play in a horrible market, and they have a real problem with Zion Williamson, who can't make it to the arena without getting hurt. So That's the number one decision they have to make. If it were me and someone was stupid enough to take Zion Williamson, I would move him in a second.
Well, they said that they're standing behind him, and before the civil suit was filed, and obviously civil, not criminal, that there were not plans to move him. I just don't know. It seems like you've done as much as you can with that relationship. When this season you come in your best shape ever, but then you're fighting the organization publicly about not playing back-to-backs. Kind of weird. So
here's the other deal. If you're New Orleans and you want your 4,000 to 5,000 people to come every night, Zion Williamson makes that happen. If without Zion Williamson, that place, may look like, Marlins Park when the Marlins have a home game against, they had less than 1,000 people there last week. So, again, you do need to sell some tickets. All right, let's get to McLean. Hello, McLean. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. I just one thing real quick to Ryan. I talked to him on Friday. You remember when you said the Oklahoma City would be devastated and whatnot? After tonight, boy, now you could say Indiana. What do you say to yourselves? Because you kind of been dominated, the whole series except for one quarter. I mean, I don't know if you remember that or no, but I just have one thing I want to just kind of say. I've been kind of frustrated. It's about baseball. I've been really frustrated on how the bad juice we've been getting as a city because of John Fisher and the choices there. I don't like that the Orioles broadcast said that we have they put down our grounds crew and whatnot. I just want to say, does the rest of, I guess, Grant, does the rest of the world kind of know that the failure of the A's in Sacramento is not our fault?
Well, first of all, you're taking it personally. No one would ever consider what's going on in Sacramento the fault of a city. Everyone in the sport of baseball understands exactly what the problem is with the A's. It's not a reflection on Sacramento in any way, shape, or form. And in this case, West Sacramento. The A's were a horrible team before they arrived in Sacramento, and they're still a horrible team.
Yeah, I do take it personal. I mean, being from Sacramento, obviously, I'm very proud of our city, and I don't like, sometimes I feel like they're jabs because I always feel like we're big brother or little brother to the Bay Area, and I really feel that if given the opportunity, if we did get an expansion ball club,
it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
I understand, but if I'm just in fantasy land, we would be good fans. I mean,
well, you can't even support the A's right now in West Sacramento. What makes you think you're going to support a major league expansion team? Every time I watch the highlights, the stands are half empty.
To counter, the River Cats have better attendance than the A's.
Okay,
and they have embraced the community. They put Sacramento on their chest. They're not price gouging. So, I mean, I think those are kind of two different you know what I mean? Those are a little bit different situations.
Mac,
okay, well, go ahead.
Mac,
go ahead.
Were you offended when Sacramento got in bed with the A's?
I thought it was a horrible decision. I thought it was a horrible decision. I feel bad for the city of. I grew up blue collar. Oakland A's baseball has always been kind of like the last blue collar. Sports is becoming more and more. I don't know what the word to say, but the A's kind of represented, in my mind, the last kind of place where it was about. I can't find the right words, but like where a son and a dad could go to games regularly. They're pricing a lot of people out in professional sports, and I felt like the A's and they were kind of like the last. Oakland was kind of the last. Does that make sense? It was the last of the hurrah
of the major leagues. Yeah, because you had the River Cats.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you.
Yes, and So I feel horrible for Oakland. Even though I'm a Giants
I don't.
fan.
I don't feel horrible for Oakland at all. I feel horrible for the 20,000 diehard A's fans. I don't feel horrible for Oakland. They allowed three.
No, that's
They allowed three professional franchises to leave their city. I don't feel horrible for them. I feel horrible for the 20,000 diehard A's fans because there aren't more than that. Because they never went to the games, even when the A's were good. The fans still did not go support the A's, even when they put good products on the field. Didn't happen.
That is true. It's very sad though. It is a historical baseball town. Both
Yes, it
Sacramento
is.
and Oakland.
Yes, it is historical.
And
You're 100% correct. Oakland is a historical baseball town. There's no one that could dispute that. You're 100% correct.
And I hate to see things not work in markets that have so much history around them. Like, if that makes sense.
That tells you how
Seattle
bad the
was a
ownership
historical
is.
basketball city. Go ahead, Ryno.
I was going to say, it tells you how bad ownership is. If you can't make it work with that loyal of a fan base, with that much history.
McLean, good call.
Right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Don't take these things personally with what an announcer on the Baltimore Orioles says about your groundkeepers or whatever. Who cares? I mean, don't let it bother you that much.
Mac started calling this week. He does some good work. I think he needs to roll back the tape, though. I'm pretty sure I said they'd be devastated if they lost game 2 and headed back to Indiana.
And they would have been devastated if they had lost tonight.
So let's kick it to Mike. What's up tonight, Mike? Going,
Mike, you there? Mike.
Not
all right,
there.
he's gone.
Gonzo.
So this is a post-game show, and I don't mind taking a call on that, but this is a short period of stay in West Sacramento for the A's. And for the delusional people out there that think, well, gee, they still haven't built the stadium and then they're going to stay. They're not staying in Sacramento. Even if that stadium were never to exist, they're not staying in Sacramento. Wake up, everyone.
And I guess I'm going to follow up with this question. Vegas doesn't want them. City Council is on record as saying that it doesn't feel like anything's really in motion for them. They
don't have a home. They really will never have a home. Yeah.
If not Vegas, where?
It's going to be a disaster. It is. It's going to be a disaster. One thing that's not a disaster is Bennett's Prime Seafood and Steaks. And don't forget about Father's Day. Yes, indeed. Father's Day, folks. Make your Father's Day plans at Bennett's, Sacramento, Roseville, and the West Side Grill in Rockland. High school graduation, college graduations. Yeah, great place to celebrate at Bennett's. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com. And we'll see you at Bennett's.
Great point about graduations. Not a better place to go. Set aside one of those private dining rooms for your party.
Perfect.
That's the way you go right there. I was just thinking back to Oakland. She said you let 3 sports teams fall through your hands, but the Warriors, it's a different fan base in Oakland versus San Francisco. And I feel like to have your team that close to you and outpriced at the Chase Center for most of them, that's got to be even more painful, Names.
Maybe, but how many of the fans that went to the Warriors games live in Alameda?
Sure, there was some crossover, but the Chase Center has been, and they've been very successful with the WNBA team so far down there. They've had some sellouts for the Valkyries, but I've heard from a lot of Warriors fans that it's very difficult to get into that building price-wise.
Oh yeah, no, there's no that I understand. Yes, the prices are through the freaking roof. Yes,
different feel too, because Oracle was one of those like last arena standing.
It was a great arena.
You've been in every arena in the NBA. So when I look at Oklahoma City and I look at Indies, they're kind of the closest to me to Arco that are left in the league.
I totally agree. 100%. They are. They're both very similar, and both are built just for basketball. The arena in Indianapolis is great. Was one of my favorites. Built just for basketball. The acoustics and everything else. Yeah. Totally, you are correct. Of all the arenas left in the league, those are the two. No doubt about it.
Very loyal fan bases as well. See, as we go through the chat, if you want to get in, now is the time. You can call the show. I'll put the link in the chat one more time. You doing a show tomorrow, buddy?
I am going to do a show. That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent. 8 o'clock.
You been watching any of the hockey?
Oh boy, have I ever, Grant. I'm watching it in VR. I'm in the arena. I've got the ambient sound. I've got TNT if I want it. I'm either on the ice or I'm in a suite 50 at the center ice line. It's incredible.
It's awesome, isn't it?
It's so cool. And what a series. Both games going to overtime.
Great.
Holy moly.
It's just absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal.
It
Love
means
it.
something. It's different. Like
I
it means
watched-
more.
Believe it or not, I watched every point of the Skinner Alcaraz match today that went 5.5 hours at the French Open.
Wow.
I turned it on at the beginning, and I almost said goodbye after the second set when Skinner went up 2-0 after winning the second set tiebreaker. And I'm like, I'm just going to stick with this a little longer. And then what happened in the fourth set was freaking unbelievable when Skinner had 3 championship points trying to break serve. He's up love 40, 3 championship points to win the French Open, loses them all, loses the game. Then Skinner breaks or gets broken. The tiebreaker in the last set was unbelievable. I mean, think about it. A 5th set tiebreaker to decide the champion at the French Open. It was just a classic match.
Insane. They got hammered a little bit over not closing the dome on the ladies final.
Yeah, I did see that. And I missed the ladies final, and congratulations to Coco Gauff, but
Yep.
I missed it. I didn't see it. So, but I did read about that.
Speaking of tennis, I saw this video the other day, and apparently when tennis comes to MSG, they pull a fan out of the stands and they let him play a game or play a point with one of the players. Have you known of this growing up in New York?
I've never heard of that before. And I never went to a tennis event at Madison Square Garden. I was always either at Forest Hills, the previous side of the U.S. Open, or the National Tennis Center in Flushing at the U.S. Open. I played tennis with John McEnroe once against Andre Agassi.
Yes.
The sports director at Channel 3 back then. And that was, to this day, one of the coolest things that I've ever done in front of 15,000 people playing tennis with John McEnroe against Andre Agassi. That to this day is one of the coolest things I've ever experienced in my life.
It's exactly what I thought about when I saw it. 'Cause this guy comes out from the stands, he gets handed the racket,
Yep.
he hits a couple of really easy shots over there to Nadal, and then he fires off this just forehand, incredible, with some top spin. Then he returns it back with a forehand that's a winner right
So
down
it
the
was
line.
staged. So it was staged.
No, it's allegedly, and that's exactly what I thought. Plant. No, apparently it is an
Never heard of it.
MSG thing for matches like that. If they're doing an entertainment match, they will pull somebody out of the stands. Because
I honestly have never, I did not know that. And I'm glad you told me that. And again, I've never been to a tennis event at Madison Square Garden. Been to everything else.
Didn't you piss off Agassi?
Yeah, I did actually. He did get upset at me, and it was a big mistake that I made in like the third game that I had a really, really good forehand. And I was in the deuce court. McEnroe was in the other side. And Agassi is serving to me, and he serves me a top spin serve that the ball hung up for me. And I hit a screeching forehand that he barely got his racket on the return. All right. And he looked at me and was like, really? And for the rest of the match, I could barely get my racket on an Agassi serve. He was like, okay, wise ass. Really?
He was doing you a favor, and you couldn't resist the moment.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a once in a lifetime. How many people can say they hit a winning forehand against Andre Agassi?
100%. Agassi was the man back in the day.
Yes, yes. And I'll never forget that. The look he gave me, I'll never forget it. And I was like, oh boy. And then the next serve was an ace. He put a scorcher to my backhand that I didn't get my racket on. I got my racket on a couple of the others, but not to win a point, you know?
Is that one of the tougher things that we forget to talk about in sports in terms of the hardest things to do in sports, returning
Well,
serves in a confined area that are coming at you 120 miles an hour?
two things about that I never experienced before. At first, I had trouble picking up the ball because of the fans with different color shirts on.
Ah,
So your background at that particular arena at that time did not have a wall high enough behind the server like they do at these major championships.
yeah.
So that was number one. If you go by the difficulty of a sport, now think about this today. The two players today played for 5.5 hours with a rest on the odd games for 60 seconds. If you watch the match with the on red clay, where the rallies are longer than on a hard surface, to be able to go 5.5 hours is an unbelievable testament to the condition that these players are in. It's unbelievable.
It's an
And there's no coaching. No one's coming in as a sub. Like there's, you're out there on an island for 5.5 hours. That's pretty freaking amazing.
It's equally mentally impressive to be able to be that locked in. It's an individual thing. You're not getting 2-3 minutes between shots like in golf.
We always talk about what I think is the most grueling sport that I've never done before. I've always thought that the Tour de France has to be one of the most difficult things in any sport anywhere in the world. Like I'm just don't know how they do it. You're going over 2,000 miles through the Alps. Have you seen not only going uphill, which I can't even imagine, you have to put newspaper and stuff down your shirt when you go down the other side of the mountain because ice forms on your body from the sweat? And the crashes that you see on that damn thing. I mean, I don't know how the Tour de France to me is mind boggling.
Well, and it's on either no rest or very short rest.
Right. Every day.
It's insane.
The Ironman triathlon to me, I can't comprehend that. I can't comprehend that. I just can't comprehend, swimming 2.5 miles in the ocean or whatever it is, going on a bike for 125 miles and then running. And then, let's go run a marathon.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. We should do a bracket sometime of those sports.
Yeah, we should. It definitely is not golf. I know that.
No. Well, it depends how you golf. I mean, if you're like me and you're hiking everywhere, then it's a pretty tough sport. Stay locked in.
Somebody said Grant would agree since 1990, the greatest winners in American sports, Serena Williams, Jordan, Brady, and Woods. I'm doing this off the top of my head, but Serena for sure. And yeah, well, I mean, what about Mahomes?
I don't think he's quite there.
He's not there yet? Okay.
I don't think so. He's very close. Very close.
Okay. All right.
Who's the biggest winner out of those three?
Including Serena?
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to go look at the numbers, Serena, I mean, if you're just going to go by the numbers and majors and everything else, but if you're looking at 10 Super Bowls in a team sport, see, that's the other thing about when you talk about Serena, she did it all by herself.
So
I mean, yeah, she's got coach, she's got a team, but when you're on the court, she's the one that's playing, nobody else.
Yeah, and everybody's okay. That's a very good argument because everybody's playing the course in golf. If we're looking at Tiger, right? Maybe you're looking at the scoreboard, but if you're playing Serena Williams, you're going right at her. You're getting their best shot every time you step on the court.
But golf doesn't have a physical aspect to it like tennis. There is some physical aspects to golf. I mean, there are a lot of people that have back injuries, but I mean, walking a golf course, you can't equate with playing tennis. It's night and freaking day.
So do you equate what's involved in the sport as an aspect of winning?
Yeah, I do.
Physical
Yes.
toll? I think you have to a degree.
Right.
And
Someone said Lewis Hamilton from
Hamilton.
F1. I mean, he had an amazing run. How much of that is driving and how much of it is machine? Because I've only watched F1 now for 4 years, and it seems like it's mostly car. I mean, I look at the McLarens. Well, they now have the best car, and they're winning almost every week. When Verstappen had the best car with Red Bull, they were winning almost every week. I mean, when Lewis Hamilton was winning with Mercedes, they had the best car. That's the problem with looking at a driver. How much of it is it's just like a horse in the Derby? How much of it is the horse and how much of it is the jockey? I don't know anything about horse racing, but I got to believe almost all of it's the horse.
Yeah. You got to know the horse, and then you've got the trainer who's training the horse. We're getting Michael Phelps in there.
Yeah, I mean, again, individual sports to me would jump ahead of team sports because you're doing it all by yourself.
But couldn't you make the argument that an individual was so good that he lifted the rest of that team up to their level?
Yeah, but if you could, but there are still those detractors that say Jordan wouldn't have won a championship in Chicago without Pippen.
Sure. Fair point. Jackson.
Exactly. Right. So, I mean, but in an individual sport, you can never talk about that because you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah, no, very true. Very true. Tiger, do you think anything off the course diminishes Tiger when you think about it?
If you want to be objective about it, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to really be objective about it, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It's an interesting conversation. Probably a lot of names were leaving out.
Of course. Since 1990, I mean, we're talking about a 35-year period. That's a lot of time in the history of sport.
Yeah, very true. Gretzky.
Yeah, but the reason why I didn't say Gretzky is he won a lot of cups in the 80s with Edmonton. So he said since 1990. I can't put Gretzky on that list from 1990. If you told me since 1984 when he won his first cup with the Oilers, then I would put Gretzky right at the top of the list. Yes. To me. And I've been watching sports since the early 60s to put it into perspective. So we'd have to go much earlier than 1990. To me, Wayne Gretzky is the greatest single athlete in the history of team sport. Blows away Michael Jordan, blows him away. It's not even comparable. When you put Wayne Gretzky's numbers on a piece of paper with his championships and his accolades and compare it to Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, it's night and day. It's night and day.
It's a whole different ball game too. Sport that he was playing in a much different time.
Yes. But I mean, I'll just bring it up right here. NHL all-time leading scorers. Just to give you because I want to have it here, okay? Think about this. Wayne Gretzky has the most points, assists, and goals of any player to ever play in the NHL. Let me read the numbers to you, okay?
Yep.
Just for the folks that aren't hockey fans, if you get an assist, it's a point. If you get a goal, it's a point in terms of your personal statistics. 2,857 points. The second guy on the all-time list is Mark Messier with 1,921. Now think about that. Gretzky has almost 1,000 more points than anyone else that's ever played in the National Hockey League. We're talking about 1,000 goals because you can't get an assist without a goal. Think about that for a minute. Just think about that. How amazing is that? I'll tell you how amazing. In hockey, having a 100-point season is the equivalent of being a 20-game winner as a pitcher in the big leagues. Okay? Just to give you a perspective for your baseball fans. If you score 100 points in an NHL season, you're in rarefied air. Rarefied air. He's got almost 10 more seasons of that than the
It's
guy that's
incredible.
behind him. Put that in the think about that for a minute.
How many 100-point seasons did he have in a row? Sure,
Oh
it
my
must have
God.
been an incredible streak.
How many
So
100-point seasons did Wayne Gretzky have consecutively? 13.
wow, it's incredible.
It's beyond mind-boggling. How many 200-point seasons did Wayne Gretzky have? He had 4 seasons with 200 or more points. Let me put that into perspective. That would be the equivalent of a running back in the National Football League having 4 2,000-yard rushing seasons, not now in a 17-game season, not in a 16-game season, in a 14-game season, which we used to have when OJ became the first player to ever rush for 2,000 yards, and he did it in a 14-game season. Wayne Gretzky having 4 seasons with 200 or more points would be the equivalent of someone rushing for 2,000 or more yards in a 14-game NFL season.
Well, I can't argue with you now, but I am going to go watch some Gretzky when we finish this show. I've seen bits and pieces, but I'm going to watch some more.
You can't compare. I've watched hockey since, I'll tell you how young I was when my dad took me to hockey games. I thought when they came to resurface the ice in between period, we were getting ready to start a new game. I didn't realize it. No, I'm serious. I didn't realize it was the continuation of a game. So I've been watching hockey. I've watched Gordie Howe. I watched Bobby Orr, who, by the way, Wayne Gretzky thinks both of them were better than he.
Wow.
All right. And he's being very magnanimous. I've watched Mario Lemieux. I've watched Jaromir Jagr, the great Alex Ovechkin, who just passed Gretzky with goals. There's never been a Wayne Gretzky. Never. And the closest thing to Wayne Gretzky right now is in the playoffs, and his name's Connor McDavid.
A lot of hype around him. A lot of the conversation about he's got to get that championship to legitimize that, or the Stanley Cup.
It's a great conversation, though, isn't it? Because it is subjective in nature. But if you're going to be subjective in nature, I think you need to back it up with numbers. And the reason why I say Wayne Gretzky is the greatest athlete, the greatest performer in the history of team sport in our 4 sports is because there's no one even close to him in the record books. Not even close.
Do you not hear as much about him because it's hockey? And I get hockey's popular in parts of the country, Canada widespread, but it's considered the 3rd or the 4th sport out of our top 4.
No, he has. You haven't heard a lot about Wayne Gretzky because he's been retired for 30 years.
Yeah, it's true. He played in LA too, biggest market.
Well, yeah, and he played in New York with the Rangers, and he played in St. Louis. He was instrumental in hockey becoming popular in the Sun Belt states. Instrumental. Dallas, when the Minnesota North Stars moved from Minneapolis, St. Paul to Dallas, you would have thought, hockey in Dallas? There's no way. Became a phenomenal success. Stanley Cup, sell out every game. Same thing in Florida. I mean, think about what's going on in Florida right now. Yeah. The Florida Panthers in Fort Lauderdale, Sunrise to be exact, not too far from where I live. 3 years in a row now, they've been in the Stanley Cup Finals. They lost to Vegas and my buddy George McPhee. Then last year, won the Cup against Edmonton and are in it now 3 years in a row. And before that, Tampa had been in the Cup for 3 years in a row. Now think about that. The state of Florida.
Gretzky grew the sport. Quite frankly, I think you have to add a degree of that into winning.
Great job with Roger Federer. You have to add Roger Federer to that list if we're talking 1990. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But you can't put him number 1 because if you look at the majors won in tennis, he doesn't have this distance separated from him the way Gretzky does. Yeah. In my opinion, you can't have him number 1.
Very true. Amar, we are putting in context team sports, or we're competing in the sport. It's winning in general. We if you lift your team in a team sport, we're considering those things. So it's not about sport.
All right. Again, UFC, I would not agree with you, is more popular than hockey. And I don't know how you would quantify that because the UFC has how many events during a calendar year?
Ugh. There's 1 to 2 events, it feels like every single week, but at least one
Okay.
event every 2 weeks.
So, all right. So let's say there's 2 a week. Well, first of all, hockey during the regular season has 30 teams playing 82 games during a season. They have network TV coverage. Most of the UFC is the big fights are pay-per-view, are they not?
Correct.
So you can't quantify. I mean, I disagree with you because if you're going to include Canada, which you have to for the sport, it's not even close. Hockey, the number of hockey fans it's not even close.
Yeah, and to a degree, John Jones, if we were going to go that route with UFC, he has had so many issues outside of the cage. Quite frankly, can't get back into the cage.
Yeah. Well, that's also been a problem with UFC, has it not?
Well, it's been a problem with a lot of sports, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's a very good point. One thing that is not a problem is when you go to EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagine, David and Adam, just 2 guys trying to do something different and better. You've got the information, give them a call or the email if you're looking to sell your vehicle, or if you want to buy a vehicle, you go to their website, edhmotors.com, and you can see everything they have available. And if you don't find what you want, get in touch with them. They'll get it for you. That's what they do. And you'll take delivery at the beautiful auto lounge that they have at the El Dorado Hills Town Center. No dealership. Again, it's a long overdue new concept. Get a hold of them at edhmotors.com. Call them, email them. That's EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. We will be on after Game 3 as well, right here on If You Don't Like That.
Yes, we will. Tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Before that, Napes, I'll be on 3 p.m. King's Court. Make sure you subscribe and give us a thumbs up if you don't mind, a like, a retweet.
Yes.
Really appreciative of that, keeping us in the algorithm.
I can't believe we've been on for 1 hour and 22 minutes. That blows me away.
Yeah, we are over. It was a good conversation. People in the chat are saying the same. We'll continue it. Think about it. Bring your names. Something we'll kick around in the off season.
Appreciate you, Ryan. Appreciate everyone else. We will talk to you tomorrow and then back here on the post-game show after Game 3. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening or wherever you may be around the globe watching us here on If You Don't Like That. Take care.